Hi, I'm Chris Call with Fire Rescue 1 and EMS 1. I'm here with Mike McAvoy. Mike.
Hi, Chris.
Thanks for coming out.
Glad to be here.
Fire rehab, and there's so many components to it. I think that, in fact, there's guidelines which have become standards, which there's so much in there. And one of the common questions that people have is about hydration or rehydration.
Right.
And what we do. And at first I think bottled waters. Water, 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 water.
Sure.
So let's just start there.
In the NFPA 1584 standard, which is the standard for firefighter rehab, it talks about hydration on the fire ground, but it also talks about prehydration. And there's some really valuable lessons from the science that went into the prehydration. The only place in the standard where it actually prescribes a fluid volume is in prehydration. And what it suggests is that if you have a pre-planned event, that you prehydrate with a half a liter, 500 mLs of water prior to that event in a 2-hour window before the event. So a couple things come from that, which are real valuable lessons for firefighters and for chief officers. One is prehydration has to be done within a scheme of a couple hours prior to the event. So you think about the recruit academy, where what we do is we tell recruit class, tomorrow you're going to work really hard, so tonight I want you to drink, 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 drink. And so recruits will go into the cafeteria and drink and drink and drink and drink, stay up all night long, going to the bathroom, urinating. And by morning, in that 2-hour window prior to the event that they're going to do a live burn with, they drink nothing because they figure that they're well hydrated. And in fact, the only thing that would have done them any benefit is to hydrate in that 2-hour window prior to that. And they could have probably slept very peacefully the night before rather than being up all night urinating. So prehydration is important. The other concept that comes from that is, what's the best way to give firefighters liquids? And the answer to that is in a bottle. And so we think about the ways that we dispense water on the fire ground, and probably bottled water is the best way to do that. Now, ecologically, some departments are saying it'd be better to have cups, paper cups, or things that are a little bit more ecologically sound. And so the solution to that is to give firefighters their own Nalgene bottles, for example. Right. Maybe put their names on them, so when you find them littering the fire ground, you know who they belong to. But that gives you an ability to measure the amount of volume that you've consumed.
Oh, got it.
So I think that's an important lesson.
And that's ongoing hydration.
Sure. And what goes along with that is that if you survey firefighters, cops, EMS people, surgeons, and nurses, they're all dehydrated. They walk around dehydrated. And no research has ever looked into the reasons for that except with nurses. And with nurses, the studies that have been done have shown that nurses are dehydrated because they're on their feet for so much part of their day that they don't have time to go to the bathroom. They deliberately don't drink enough water. So recognizing that we're all dehydrated chronically, prehydration probably plays a role. Now, the second part of that is water is the most appropriate thing to drink most of the time. And here's the reason why. We think about sports drinks from time to time and what's the value of those. But in fact, if you're intensely sweating, you lose sodium, you lose potassium, you lose magnesium, you lose chloride, you lose a lot of things other than water in your sweat. For the first 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours of intense sweating, you reabsorb the electrolytes. You reabsorb sodium, you reabsorb potassium. You have no need to replace them. Your skin brings them back in. After about 3 hours of intense sweating, if you continue to work hard, you'll no longer reabsorb the electrolytes. It then becomes appropriate at that point in time to switch from drinking water to perhaps consuming some electrolyte drinks. So that's another lesson that I don't think that firefighters are necessarily schooled in.
I think that the idea was always having electrolytes. We need an electrolyte replacement. But that's not exactly what you're saying.
No.
But you're not saying absolutes either. You're saying, hey, water, by far, number one. Now, depending on the duration and the intensity, we should be considering that as a secondary alternative.
Right. And here's when sports drinks come into play. If you drink water, your stomach has the capacity to be able to handle a liter of water an hour. So if you quickly slam down 3 bottles of water, you drink 1.5 liters of water, you're probably going to throw up. And if you're a firefighter, you'll probably barf in your SCBA mask. And that's not a pretty occurrence. So small amounts of water consumed continuously would be the best way to drink water. Sports drinks are much more dense than water. They serve a purpose after about 3 hours of heavy work to replace the electrolytes that you're no longer able to reabsorb back into your body, and probably to give you an energy boost because they have some carbohydrate in with them. Here's the thing about sports drinks, though. They don't move through your stomach at that same speed as water because they're so much heavier. And so manufacturers concentrate them deliberately to make them move through the stomach at the maximum possible speed. And that means that if you take a sports drink and you change its solution, for example, half-strength Gatorade, what you're going to do is cause that not to move through the stomach at the speed that was intended, and you'll make people nauseous as a consequence of that. You also can't drink as much of a sports drink as you could drink of water. So if you can consume 1 liter of water an hour, process that through your stomach without being nauseous, you may be able to consume 600, maybe 700 cc's of Gatorade, nowhere near as much water. You also think about mixing Gatorade and water. If we said that you should serve it at the strength that it's prepared at by the manufacturer, or mix the powder at the instructions that it says on the can, then you also would not want to, in the same hour, drink a sports drink and then drink water, because if you did both, you would actually be changing the concentration in your stomach.
So it seems like we can talk on and on about hydration. There's so many different facets of this. If somebody wants to find out more about hydration or rehydration and how it relates to fire rehab, is there a resource out there?
Sure. The firegrand.com website has some excellent articles about hydration and about measuring hydration status and about the different drinks that firefighters may consider consuming.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks.